The doctor, you're like, "Come on."
Oh, time's going backwards up there. Okay, yeah, we're ready. All right, we're going to call to order this regular meeting of the Commission of the Arts on Monday, December 5th, 2022. It's about 5:01 p.m. And let's call to order. Sign in if you haven't already. I believe all commissioners are present. Is everybody able to log in there? Cool.
Yep, we can move on.
Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Special presentations and proclamations, we have none today. Do we have any oral communications?
We do not.
Okay. Any changes to the agenda?
There are none.
There are none. So let's go to the approval of the minutes. Has anyone read the minutes and would like to make a motion to approve last month's agenda minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
I have a question about the minutes before we do that, if that's okay. So there was discussion, Jeffrey brought up, Commissioner Redlitz brought up the topic of the homestays. And I think we had agreed those would go on, that item in the work plan would go on hiatus. I didn't know if that needed to be mentioned in the minutes. I didn't see it in there, so.
Your work plan remains your work plan, and it's
Okay.
okay that that's the decision you've made for that right
We
now.
don't need to make that an official record. Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Redlitz made a motion. Do we have a second?
I second the motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
Click on the agenda voting, and then it should come up.
Okay, thank you.
I think we're missing two, maybe, yeah. The agenda voting button on the box will get you there.
Yeah,
All right. And the motion passes unanimously. The minutes are approved. Okay. On to number 8, action items. donation of artwork. We're going to review the ad hoc's recommendation to accept the sculpture as public art. Is there any discussion? Has everyone had a chance to review?
I wasn't part of the ad hoc, but I wanted to thank the ad hoc committee for that report. And I'm inclined to vote to approve it. I had a question, and I don't know if this may be an ongoing thing or maybe something that's been discussed before, but thanks to this list of public art in the city, I realized that I think all but one or two of the public artworks are in Old Encinitas. One in Cardiff, obviously, the Kook. The one at Stone Steps, I think, judging by the city's neighborhood map, that's actually in Old Encinitas as well, just barely. So I just wondered going forward whether there should be discussion about kind of spreading that out a little more, because Olivenhain, Leucadia, and well, those two neighborhoods don't really have any public art right now. So I just submit that on this broader topic. I don't know what the history of that is, but yeah.
And when we get into the work plan, we can talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe just something related to that is that I do appreciate the ad hoc coming up with the Public Works building as a great place to place this artwork. I don't think that is necessarily a building that, you know, anyone would really would typically think of as one of our public buildings, but you know, it is, and I'm sure they're really going to appreciate it there, and I think it's going to look awesome there, and I appreciate the effort that the ad hoc went through to bring this report tonight, and I'm also inclined to vote in favor.
I will say, one thing that was not included in the report is that Colette had spoken with the employees of that building, and they were all extremely enthusiastic about, they've seen pictures, and they were like over the top and already talking about how to rearrange furniture. So that, like the direct impact and response was pretty cool to hear.
That actually was one of the reasons that we could accept the piece, because it's a good place for it to go. It's a very good location for the piece. The piece will look good, and the room will look good with the artwork in it. And it also broadens where our art is going. It's going into other public buildings besides just the library and city hall and community center. So that location was one of the major factors in our decision to accept the piece.
We should say that we're not responsible for placing the piece there, so it's just part of our recommendation. It's definitely a strong part of my own recommendation, but we make that recommendation knowing full well that it may not end up there. It's not in our hands.
Well, can staff comment on the ad hoc's recommendation at all at this point?
I'm happy to answer any questions.
How does staff feel about that location?
Oh, staff is excited about that location.
Okay.
Yes, especially Director Mabry was excited about that. The maintenance went over and measured, figured it out that it goes there. So there's definitely excitement. It's going to add a different feel in that room, and I think it'll be very nice.
Great.
I had one quick question, because I know we talked about the benches that come with it, and those are going to be used, I guess, the idea is to use them for furniture, for arts events, which seems to make sense, but do we know, is there a place to store those? Is that going to cost anything, or is that?
There is room to store them at the library.
Oh, okay. Great, thank you.
Just to add more on that, we discussed that, and like it's a closed place where they will be used often during art night, for instance, and it made more sense to use them because they're light moving than to include them necessarily in our recommendation to be placed with the piece. we all felt like the piece would stand out and the room would be much better off actually separated from the benches.
And they were separated in the place that they all came from the same building, but they were in different places within that building before.
Okay. Well, I guess we've opened discussion about the recommendation, and we've discussed the benches. Is there anybody else that wanted to add anything to discussion of the artwork or the benches? Okay, so number 3 is that we should make a recommendation to City Council to accept the donation of public art. Do we need to vote on this?
Yes.
Action item, so, okay. Somebody's gonna have to make a motion. I would move that the commission recommend to City Council to accept the donation of public arts and that it be displayed in Public Works.
I'll second the motion, and that starts to create a citywide gallery of public art in numerous buildings and locations.
All right.
So every time you have to click the agenda, what do you?
Oh, there we go.
On your little box. Oh, the box, and then. Yes, and then. Yeah, or with the mouse. Put the yay or nay. Oh. Yeah, it says donation. Yeah.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously with all commissioners voting yea. And so this will be recommended to council at the next city council meeting then?
It is on the agenda for the December 14th meeting.
Great, thank you. And that brings us to item 8B, the Commission for the Arts Annual Work Plan. Reporting on progress. Okay, so it should be noted that with appointments, we have 3 appointments coming up that where action will be needed in March. I will be terming out, so I'll be off the commission. And then I believe it's Commissioner Redlitz, Commissioner Hebert, and Commissioner Navarro all could apply for another term. Or you're in a partial term, Commissioner Hebert, right?
Right, yeah. So it'll have been just a year, right? Filling in a vacancy, unplanned vacancy, I guess, so.
Okay. Does everybody hope to continue on? Can we discuss?
I do.
Love to see all you guys on Arts Commission still, so. Yeah, if not, we gotta start recruiting, so I hope you guys are thinking of people. I'm trying to think of folks that could be recommended to replace me once that opening comes to be, so keep it on the radar, something to think about.
I also wanted to add that the CGP schedule is moving up a little bit earlier. So I'll have more information on that at the January meeting, and we're going to be selecting that appointee earlier than we did last year.
Okay.
What's CGP?
Community Grant Program.
Thank you.
I have a question about the applications come in, and I know they have to be processed through the city clerk's office before they can be accepted. They have to be accepted before they're actually considered. Like you have to be a voter and you have to be over 18
For the commissions.
for the commission.
Mhm.
So when is that public information? So that we would know who is applying? Or do we
I
get to know
can,
that until-
I can get you an answer for that. I don't have that information.
Somebody asked me, and I didn't know the answer either. Thank you.
Do we have any progress to note with cultural tourism, Commissioner Haber?
I actually had a scheduling issue, couldn't make the last CTC meeting, so nothing to report on that.
Okay, thank you. Number 2, arts advocacy with assisting Encinitas Friends of the Arts with fundraising activities and programming. Our commissioners who are on the EFA will actually be attending our big annual fundraiser this Thursday for the Encinitas Friends of the Arts. Number 3.
Actually, it isn't a fundraiser.
Oh, well, membership drive, right?
No, no, it's an appreciation.
Appreciation.
Celebration for all of the people who have contributed to EFA. So, yeah, you can donate money anytime, but this is not, this particular gathering is not going to be an effort to collect anything.
Okay. Fair enough.
And they have recently refurbished their membership. If you go on the website, you want to become a member. The process they were using was pretty confusing, or at least it was confusing for me. And so they've changed it now, and it's easy. Now it's easy. So I suggest everybody become a member of EFA because it's a very good organization, and they're going to be really busy raising money for Pacific View.
Number 4, present an updated draft. I'm sorry, I skipped Americans for the Arts. Does anyone have anything to report on for Americans for the Arts? No.
I can share that the organizational survey was submitted last week, and they did give a 2-week extension. We're going to continue to try and fill in some gaps, but there were 37 arts organizations confirmed within the city of Encinitas, and another 27 we're working on confirming. That's one half of it. And then we will continue with the audience intercept surveys. And after the first of the year, really ramp up efforts, hopefully with all of your support, with community organizations to be sure we capture as wide a sampling of audience experiences and economic contributions as possible.
Thank you. The updated Arts Master Plan. I do have a question on this month, as we've been getting updates on this, and it seems like it's going to be a longer and longer and longer process. Oh, you want to report first? Go ahead.
I will.
Go ahead.
So,
give a report. Sorry.
The ad hoc committee was given a copy of the most up-to-date version of the arts plan draft. And we received that days ago. And I'm in the process of doing edits that I will share with the other ad hoc members. We will formulate our recommended version and return that to the staff. Then I think, will that come back to the full commission, or does it stay with the staff until the budget process? That's my question. But I believe, my intention is to give my edits to the other members of the ad hoc committee. I think we can come to an agreement on our recommended final version. And that can happen within the month, at the end of this month, I think. That's
And,
my intention.
Yeah, let me add that my understanding is that is really going to be a provisional version depending on if the city decides to hire a consultant to continue to work on the plan.
But I think my report now, tonight, is that
Right.
the intention is for us to create a version that we think is complete enough for use by the staff to be attached to budgetary process or other internal reviews.
And the intention is we put this through, to take your input and then be able to have further discussion. And then to Irene's inquiry, it is being requested in the 23-24 budget, and then we'll see.
I'd like to ask, is this something that we can request a report on from the ad hoc to the commission, sort of outlining what they've done, what they've recommended? Because this has been years and people are, you know, on this commission are really interested to see what they've been working on. And I don't see any harm to the process from showing the public what they've been working on. I think there's great interest on the commission and probably from the public as well. Is there any way that we could have a report from the ad hoc?
You certainly can.
Okay. Can would we have to request that later on?
It's part of your work plan, so that's a little bit, Jeff has given a bit of a report. So I think if there was specific information you were looking for, we could certainly entertain that within the work plan discussion.
Yeah, I would like sort of a synopsis of major updates.
Yes,
Probably the
that's
most
possible.
significant thing, you know, the most significant things that are going into it.
It's possible that there's a really interesting question that still is unanswered was the work done 20 years ago actually acted upon by the city council and adopted as a arts master plan? Personally, I don't think so, but that research has not been concluded.
Mhm.
To answer your question, I think it ends up being kind of a bulletized PowerPoint presentation. You know, as you can imagine with most master plans, there are major strategic efforts or elements of the plan, and those can be highlighted without a lot of detailed text, but at least you know the high points and the 8 or 9 major goals of the plan.
Is that something you'd be willing and able to prepare for the next meeting?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you.
So, and you know, the ad hoc committee can comment on the level of detail, but it is kind of the current plan's kind of a bullet outline, easy to read, not a lot of text. So we could decide what level of detail you carry each goal toward. But at least you know what the high points are, and you will see elements like Pacific View Arts Center as a goal or a subject, and you know, things that are very obvious and very familiar, but at least you know that they're in the plan and they're subject to discussion. So,
For the
Yes.
budget, would they be requesting money for an outside group to come in and do this for us, or for surveys, or do we know exactly what they'll be requesting money for?
I think the specifics are going to be determined through conversations, and I can give you more information at the next meeting. I just know that it is planned to be requested in the upcoming 23-24 budget.
So to move forward with the master plan will be part of the budget for next year.
It will be requested,
Requested, yeah.
correct?
Thank you.
Mhm.
Good job. It's so nice to have something to actually say about that.
Okay. And moving on to number 5. Support and advocate for formation of the County Arts Council. Anything to report?
Not much movement on that front at the moment.
Okay. Assisting with the promotion of city arts and culture events. Anyone like to report anything? That won't be touched on later? No? Okay. And I believe we're more or less tabling discussion for the homestays for now. Supporting the public art policy, so this would probably be a good time to discuss equity among the regions of Encinitas, different
So I just wanted to remind you all that the RFP for the sculpture pedestals is going to get re-released next year, and there is one pad within each of the communities. So that is one way that public art will be in each of the communities, just as a reminder.
Yeah, and I think probably our major public buildings all fall within sort of downtown Old Encinitas area to El Camino Real. I think that's maybe part of why it seems like most of the public art's right around the center here.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And of course, a lot of the public art, or a fair number of them, are also at city parks, and the other communities do have those locations that might be possibilities. I actually had a kind of a specific question about, because I'm on the ad hoc for Olympus Park, and which is in Leucadia, which doesn't really have public art right now. And we have on here pending grant funding, and I realized I wasn't sure, is that something that, do you know, is that something that's in the works? Are there grant applications that are in process, or for that park specifically, or?
Not, pardon me, not currently in process, but certainly something as a commission, as an ad hoc, you can do research and
Yeah.
look into and make recommendations for some possible grants. And
Yeah.
then we then need to look at appropriate sites where it could be, where we could have new public art. So that is definitely something that ad hoc can be researching.
Okay, great. Yeah, I actually did a little bit of research and haven't hit on any grants that looked like quite the right fit yet. But that does seem like a good location, although there's a lot going on at that park already, but, but it's a popular place, and so it'd be a place where, public art, I think, would get seen and appreciated.
And there's
So-
also ways to look at what that public art would be. Is it something that just gets looked at? Is it interactive?
Yeah.
What is that if there was to be a piece of art put there? And because it does invite so many families, small children, what are those possibilities? And that might expand the grant potential.
And
That's a good point.
that
Yeah.
park was built after we did the pilot, after we determined where the sculptures were going to go in the other parks.
Uh-huh.
That park hadn't been developed yet.
Right,
That's why there isn't a site there.
okay, yeah.
And one thing that has been discussed is some kind of a decorative archway over the entrance on the northern, on the higher elevation.
Uh-huh, right.
In the public workshops, like playable art, so meaning like some kind of a like funky big thing that kids could climb on, was sort of one idea that was kicked around in the workshopping, at least.
Well, there's like a kind of a stone garden at I guess is that the eastern side, like the
Yes,
uphill
the upper
side,
hi-
which is
upper
pretty
hill,
cool,
yeah.
but I wasn't sure if that was actually a piece of public art.
That was marked
commissioned, or-
as art
Mhm.
when it was in the design.
Uh-huh.
But and the city paid for the whole park, so the city paid for it. But
Okay.
I never heard it called an art piece.
So it wasn't done as a separate commission project, okay.
It's supposedly because it has a squishy surface,
Right,
so you can do yoga or something there.
right.
And then walking on the rocks, the rounded rocks, is supposed
Right.
to be good for your feet or meditative.
yeah.
It's kind of a little bit of a spiral going into the center, so
Yeah, it's kind of cool, okay.
that's
Yeah,
the
and-
closest it's got so far is a piece of art.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just bring that up as a kind of a small part of this bigger idea of, as you put it, greater equity among the communities and having public art be out there and yeah, so,
One other thing to consider is that list that I sent out to all of you earlier today represents pieces that are in the city's collection. There are other public art pieces, either on private buildings that are in the public view or within other places that either the main streets have done or other public-private partnerships with artists have developed murals and other pieces in Encinitas, in Cardiff, in Leucadia, Probably not quite so much in the eastern part, but definitely along the 101. There's a lot more murals that exist that just aren't part of the city's collection.
Got it, yeah. Okay, thank
There's
you.
not even gonna be a blank wall left soon. Raoul's and Lucadia Donut just recently got ones. It's quite a few murals on the 101 at this point. So, not to get too far afield, but yeah, thank you for the reminder, Colette, about the sculpture installation requests coming out in the new year. As commissioners, we can be really helping that process by sending it out to qualified artists and sculptors, because we did not get enough people applying last time.
Yes, and if you're talking to artists now, you can start having those conversations of watch for it, it's going to be coming, and pulling those together, make sure you've got those so that when that call goes out, you can forward it off to anyone who you feel might want to apply.
If you're not familiar with the San Diego Port Urban Trees Project, I don't know if any of you remember the installations on the Embarcadero a few years ago, but all of those pieces are large scale, very vertical, weatherproof, obviously, and they're donated to the event, it was actually a big gallery. And I would look at that list, and a lot of that work was taken back by the artist and stored. And I think there's a lot of opportunity, if not for a purchase by the city, but a loan by the artist, which also goes back to Olympus Park, is maybe you don't have to acquire the art, but you put a sixth pad in that park and then look to a collection like the Urban Trees. Fascinating work, and a lot of quite well-known artists and a lot of emerging artists, but this goes back 8, 10, 12 years ago, but that lasting art could still be stored or could be loaned somewhere and moved again. And inherently, because they knew it was going to be a short-term installation, they're easily moved and mounted. So I'd urge you to look up Urban Trees.
Yeah,
There's probably
thanks.
2 or 3 different iterations over time of installation removal, installation of new work.
I think they did it
3 times, right?
and some of those are in the collection at our scripts.
Yes, right, right. So great repository of totally appropriate kind of coastal, thematic, vertical, good scale, high quality sculptures.
All right, thank you.
I have a question for Colette. Do you want to comment on the installation at the Encinitas undercrossing?
Yes, so they got started today. They prepared the surface. Tile should start going onto the north walls tomorrow morning. And we still are expecting installation to be completed by next Monday. So it's going to get really exciting.
So you're talking about El Portal?
I'm sorry, Encinitas Boulevard.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, did I mishear you?
Yes.
I
Yes.
apologize.
Fine.
Oh,
I have
no,
No, I
Encinitas.
meant the Encinitas.
Oh, okay,
And that's
You
what
read
you
her
just
mind.
spoke to.
got it. Yes, Encinitas Boulevard has been a big project today. We're very excited that it's going in.
And this project, it's been going on for quite a few years, so
Yes.
it's really exciting.
It's very exciting.
Come to
Yes.
I
fruition.
was like, those kids worked fast. Wow. That's great news. Okay, I think we can probably move on then to outer spatial. Do we have any updates on outer spatial? No? Okay.
I can just give a quick update that they have started inquiring about public art and what might make sense to be included within outer spatial. So some of them are easier than others. The up close, where there's already information and it's got a nice little walking route. So some things are going to be easier to include than others, and it'll be a process.
Colette, is there anything with the ad hoc, you would suggest the ad hoc be zoning in on there? Because in some ways, I feel that I was waiting for more information from the city.
Got it. So I think you could look at those pieces and say which ones really make sense. Do they all make sense? Which one, if they could only do so many, what's the order? What order might make the most sense of priority? Which ones to include first? And those would be some good recommendations.
Thank you.
Okay. Would anybody like to give an update on the most recent Encinitas Art Night? I was unable to attend, unfortunately. Had a Leucadia Main Street event going on that evening.
I did attend and enjoyed looking at the photographs of the library and the basket weaving here in the building. It was fairly sparse. The attendance felt that way to me each place that I went, but it was still a cool thing to have happen.
I saw attendance really ebb and flow throughout the night. There were definitely some quiet times, and then just a surge. It was a really nice vibe in that room. I was at the library. Connor was at the community center. The artists who participated in the art sale reported good things, really enjoyed that. The encaustic demo that Nanette Newbury did over there was very popular. And we are looking forward to really having a lot more input from the ad hoc, from all of you in helping to plan and prepare for Art Night as we move into 2023 and turn those into even more engaging, more enriching events. Reminder that starting in 2023, we have just 4, so we have more time to plan. And the next Art Night is on March 4th. It'll come up quick, but at least we've got some time, so it would be wonderful if that ad hoc could meet or plan to meet, if not before the January meeting, definitely before the February meeting, and be able to help contribute.
I also attended it. I thought it was very enjoyable. But I was thinking that, when it gets dark so early, that seems to be an issue, and wondering if we couldn't just make it earlier when it gets, I don't see why it has to be so late.
It got moved up. It was 6 to 9 and then got moved up to 5:30 to 8:30. At this point, because we're working with a number of other partners and in scheduling things, I don't know that I can shift it significantly in 2023. We can certainly look at that in shifting, but it's a lot easier for everyone to plan when it's the same hours for each one.
But, I think that significantly impacts the number of people that come out when it's dark.
We can definitely have that conversation. We just have to remember that it's not the kind of thing that we can change now for March. It's kind of a longer range planning because we have so many partners involved. And some of them have, specifically ICA, has arranged their participation with other scheduled programming. So we need to be respectful of all of the partners' involvement as well.
Is this event something that staff is thinking about requesting to go into the next budget?
In terms of requesting additional funding,
Yeah,
yes, we are going to be requesting additional funding for Art Night.
great. I think, I think if since we're bringing down the number of events and we're trying to add more quality to each event, I think funding could really help us, with marketing of it and also just expanding the programming of it to make it more fun for the community.
Exactly.
Each time, and I think we can kind of build it back to the levels of attendance when it first started as an event a few years ago.
Also increase the funding for the musicians.
Yes, that would be excellent.
Yes, it's definitely an item that I am requesting.
Great.
I do have a question, it's a repeat question comment from our last meeting, I think, and that was, you had a less than full roster of three-dimensional art submittals or contributors to Art Night. What's this, because I think you were going to give us some more feedback on what you needed, what the timing was.
So the application is going to get re-released no later than early January. The city's website is being redone, and that form is going to be within the new site. So I'm kind of waiting. If I can get it up and released before the break, the holiday break, then I will, but for sure it'll get released in January, if not sooner. And that will request additional artist submissions for 3D works. We do have the cases full for the two within this year, the first two sessions. So that part is good. We'll just need them for the second half. So as soon as that gets going, I'll have the timeline and then be able to bring that back to that ad hoc to get prepared and set dates for jurying that second group.
And that goes on the city webpage as yet another opportunity for submission.
Correct. And we'll make sure it gets promoted. I'll share that with all of you so you can push that out to all of the artists you know. And again, as you're talking to 3D artists, just kind of plant that seed. It's going to get re-released. Watch for it in January. So we'll have a couple of opportunities, and those can be put together and sent out to artists who might be interested.
Good. Thank you.
Colette, I don't know if this is the right time. Is that the refurbishing of the artist application, is that this kind of in the same group of work for the general application getting separated for, say, applying to teach a class at the community center or?
Different application, and then we are going to be taking a look at that one and having that be easier and giving good instruction so that that can be used to recruit potential teaching artists and getting the arts programming ramped up before Pacific View opens. So all of those things as you know, we are going to be adding a staff person, which is going to help increase our capacity. So we'll have a little bit more bandwidth to get at some of those projects.
Okay, so there's no set timeline for when that will shift?
No, but I am really hoping to have that happen. That particular one will come after the other two because those have other deadlines tied to them. Whereas that one is more of a sense of urgency, but not a hard deadline attached to it. So that still early 2023.
Thanks.
Because we very much want to be able to get those programs started.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do we have anything to report for the visual arts selection panel? No? Okay, then we can move on to the performing arts. I have nothing to report for feasibility of new offerings here. We haven't really met
I have a
yet,
question
but-
on the artist, musician roster. Not sure we've ever seen a published list of upcoming, beyond what you advertise on the webpage, just a much longer range in terms of the Wednesday at noon musician roster. So what's just a real brief explanation, because we've never been involved in it as a commission.
Sure.
Just, how far in advance have you filled that roster, and what's the next effort or the next outreach?
Sure. So that program was really nicely designed and operates so smoothly. Touch wood, I didn't just jinx us. It really does run so well. And we are booked through May 2023. And it's primarily a time limitation that keeps us from getting everything that we know is coming put up on the website. So hopefully, again, adding capacity early next year, we'll be able to have more advance notice of what's coming up. We try and keep about a month to 6 weeks if we can on the website. And I know it would be nice to have more. It's a function of time.
So are you, what's your contact basis for reaching out to musicians? Is there
For the
a list
most
you
part,
work from, or do they come to you with
they come to
requests?
us. Mm-hmm. For the most part, they come to us. On occasion, there will be a last-minute cancellation, illness, or unexpected issue. And so we have that database of artists who have played, and we'll reach out to those that haven't played in a while, that we know might be available, and see if they can step into that unexpected vacancy. But really, for the most part, we are booked a good 5 to 6 months out based on musicians coming and requesting to play. So thankfully, that one really runs smoothly. Should we ever reach a point where we're needing assistance, that would come and we would request perhaps some assistance from the commission. And you are certainly always welcome to recommend to artists to reach out and see if they would like to perform.
That was kind of my question, being a member of that committee, whether we, because the way it's worded, it sounds as though we were kind of waiting for requests, but we're free to kind of suggest, or?
You can always suggest, and then as it relates to performing arts programming, you can always make suggestions for other kinds of performing arts programming. We're looking at having programming at the community center that integrates with the piano that's over there. So we've got the choir coming up on the 10th, Nutcracker coming up on the 17th. Both of those are performing arts programs that integrate with the piano. There is a dance performance with Litvak coming in July 2023. So think beyond concert. Think also about dance and theater and things that are suggestions for both sites, for both community center and community room at the library. But specifically, we're looking for some programming suggestions that incorporate the piano at the community center. And then we are also working on the new summer music series that will be happening at the library. I'll have a little bit more information when we meet again in July, but there will be one. And once we get to a point where we need some commission involvement, we'll reach out and invite you to participate.
You mean January, right?
January, I'm sorry. Just talking about July with Litvak. Yes,
okay.
in January. January is going to be a big month. I'm excited.
Great. Okay, awesome questions. I guess we move on to arts education. Our ad hoc did have a meeting during which myself and Commissioner Abraham kind of brought Commissioner Fox up to date with what's been going on with Pacific View programming, and I'm going to let Commissioner Fox kind of give us a synopsis.
Yeah, thank you. After that, I had reached out to both Colette and Travis with some questions about what is most up to date. And so Colette and I had a nice long conversation, which I was very grateful for that time. I guess I'll start off just saying that our kind of understanding our role, which in some ways I have a question just on here on the work program, which is to direct potential art instructors to the city RFPs. And that goes along with also suggesting actual programming. Is that right? Both?
Yes, so it's making recommendations, and I can resend the information. I think we shared it a few meetings ago, so probably predates you. But I can share updated information even about programming categories that we're thinking of and planning for within the rooms. When the building is completed, and that anticipated date is summer 2024, we're really looking at rooms. So it's not going to come with all of the things for some of the specialized programs that have been suggested. So we're going to look at things that fit within the uses, that fit within what we can do, and plan for if we have additional materials and things versus not having.
Right. Yes, totally. So that's part of my update, is that each room has, so just to jump into Pacific View then, that each room is designated right now, that can always change, but for different kinds of art making and performance space. So even with the electrical stuff. What is wired, say, for a kiln is different in some rooms than others, and that helps designate what will be done in each room. Rooms 3 and 4 have a divider that can be retracted, and so that can open up into a bigger performing space. I think you said the capacity for audience there would be 40 or 20?
I would have to double check that. I don't have that information with me right now.
But certainly potential workshop or very small black box. Then we talked about the different phases of programming. So once it opens, having stuff that can get in there right away, and then things that will require more grants, things that will require more actual physical stuff. We discussed weaving that would require looms, or more high-tech stuff that's computer-based. So we also discussed funding, which is basically zero as of now for all programming. So fundraising, grants, and then also different kinds of programming where the artist or organization would apply with programming that they could be charge for the class.
And bring all of their own equipment. I mean, there's an artist, a fiber artist in Oceanside who has great looms. If that artist were to be interested and had all of the equipment, there could be an RFP outlining, bringing all of that in. And so it doesn't, just because we don't have it, doesn't mean we can't do it. It just needs to be a program where perhaps that artist is bringing it in, and that's taken into consideration in the RFP. So the form itself, the RFP itself, is going to get simplified so that it's much more user-friendly and easy, but then we need to start having that go widely into different kinds of artists, groups, and gauging their interest to submit programs for consideration.
And as part of that, we did speak about the idea of not necessarily partnering, but having a sense of a visiting artist or a visiting organization that could have a presence for a month at a time, and who's already working within the community. Or so Irene, your friend who has the violin shop, is that what? Coming in as a musician or a visual artist, whatever it could be, as a way also of bringing what's happening at the center back out into the community, and giving greater visibility to both then.
And things like that, just to set expectations, would probably be not within the first level of what we do, but in subsequent levels. So we're going to start off in a much more pared down version and then build on what we do in terms of hours and programs, so that we get everything functioning well and then continue to add on our success.
All right, thank you for the update. And then we have work plan outcomes just around the corner in February 2023.
Yes, so start thinking about what you have accomplished, what the outcomes from this year's work plan have been, and bring those with you to January's meeting so you can discuss and brainstorm together what you feel are the most significant things that have been accomplished. And then paired with that, start thinking in terms of ideas, and we'll work on next year's work plan, probably starting in February.
All right, well, that concludes the work plan. We'll move to number 9, informational items. And we have the Cultural Arts Division report from Administrator Murphy.
All right, well, we've spoken about this already, and I'm very excited. We have an art supervisor candidate in backgrounds right now. I can't share their name until that has been confirmed, but we are anticipating a January 9th start date. I shared about Encinitas Boulevard, very excited. El Portal is going to be getting started. They're kicking off with the kids very soon. Arts and Economic Prosperity, can't share enough. Please, please, please advocate to all the organizations to participate with the surveys. We have volunteers that we can put with their events to help make it easy. And there really is going to need to be an accelerated push with all of those organizations starting next year and through April 30th to really capture attendance and economic contributions to those. I touched briefly on the community grant program. That's going to get released a little earlier next year, so we'll talk about that. So if you hear things from other arts organizations and you might just want to mention, hey, that's going to be coming out early, when that application is released, I'll send that your way so you can share with anyone who might want to apply. Another exciting thing is in the moving around of things, Arts Division is going to take over the summer Moonlight concerts. So we're going to start looking at programming for those, looking at who the bands would be. There are 4 of those in the summer. The 2nd and 4th Sundays
Could that
in
be
July
a
and
good
August.
topic for the ad hoc on the performing arts to get involved with?
To make recommendations, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
We should meet on that, guys. Sorry.
Pardon?
I said sorry to interrupt. We should meet on
No,
that.
no, totally fine. And then working on arts programming, we talked about a lot of these things already. So that is the end of my report.
All right, then we'll go to 9B, Commission Calendar.
Wednesdays at noon continues to be very popular, filling up the house. There is no Wednesday concert on December 28th, which is the Wednesday in between Christmas and New Year's. That is the annual closure because we are off. A lot of people are really busy with family, so there is no Wednesday concert on that Wednesday. Returning the following week, we have a special event. We have 2 special holiday events in December. On the 10th, North Coast Singers is doing a holiday choir, 2 matinee performances at the community center at 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock on the 10th. And then Encinitas Ballet is doing the Nutcracker again with 2 performances on December 17th at 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock. So we definitely would like to have more promotion and sharing the news about those. And that is the end of the calendar.
Thank you. So we'll move to 9C, Encinitas Friends of the Arts Report from Commissioner Valenzuela.
So the only update would be that this Thursday, the EFA is holding its membership appreciation party. So it's going to be this Thursday.
All right. Number 10, do we have any commissioner member-initiated agenda items? Oh. Do we have any future agenda items to be added by commission members?
Sorry, I just want,
Oh, go ahead.
that, a member-initiated agenda item is one that was already put on. Is that true? I'm just clarifying. I'd like to speak about the color palette group at some point. I didn't know when that was appropriate.
Commissioners' reports would be a good time.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
And you can also share, anyone who attended the parade, you can share during then as well.
Okay, so no future agenda items. Okay, so, let's move to the commissioner reports. Who would like to start?
I'll
Start.
I'll
Go
start.
ahead, Kate.
Okay. So for the Pacific View Color Palette Group, we met on December 1st with 2 members of the core group, architect firm, a project manager and designer, and 2 members of the 2 citizens, myself, Colette, and Travis. Essentially, they presented photo mock-ups and plans, and by the end of it, we had decided that they would, again, present to us one version, which is kind of a neutral palette on the outside with very large super graphics by each door. I meant to bring the actual handouts.
I was just going to say, for now, this is just reporting.
Okay.
So we can share that, and if that's something that you want to include later, we can. But for now, just sharing.
Okay, so now basically that we met, they're going to update with 2 different options, and then we'll get those options in December, and probably all actually meet again for more decision-making in January.
Awesome, thank you.
I saw,
And ultimately, those discussions will end up coming back into the Arts Commission to make a recommendation based on what you see.
I wanted to mention that I saw in the newspaper that there's going to be a concert December 16th at the community center by the North Coast Symphony Orchestra
Mm.
at 7:30. Is that correct? That's correct, Colette.
It very well could be. I believe that they do rent space there to put on performances.
Yeah, I think they're a really nice orchestra, and if you haven't heard them, and that's the first time I think they're going to be at that location. So,
Could you say again where they're doing it?
it's going to be at the community center,
Oh.
December 16th at 7:30, and tickets, $15, I think.
Got anything? Nothing from Navardo? Okay, I'll go. So as I only have about like 3 meetings left on the commission, I, just kind of was thinking about the commission in its current form, and I just wanted to report and commend like everybody on this commission. I feel like for how long I've been on this commission, this is one of the strongest groups of individuals that we've had at this point, and just commend everybody on being really proactive, and just our ability to kind of take a public art piece that came in and sort of redirect things shows that we're a very active group, and just, as there will be openings in the future, let's continue to keep this commission really strong with people who are, active and not reacting to things. That's my report. Send it down to you, Jeff. If you got anything? Nothing?
I wanted to just mention, Colette mentioned the parade, and I wanted to thank Commissioner Fox for arranging our float, which was a convertible from Cardiff Classics. This is kind of late in developing, and so I personally apologize for not letting everybody know what the presence was going to be, because we didn't completely know until pretty close to the last minute, but we did have a presence, and people seemed enthusiastic. Personally, my favorite part was we passed by one of the bars, and there was a group of people hoisting beers and pumping their fists saying, "Arts, arts, arts, arts." So there's some enthusiasm out there. But yeah, so I don't know if you wanted to.
Yeah, well, likewise, thank you to Jim for that participation too. He arranged all the lights and then brought the car back the next morning, which was huge. It's true. And it was so much fun. I mean, I was kind of doing it because I thought it was important to do, but I didn't anticipate having fun, just if I'm honest. And we got through. We were at the beginning of the parade. After the 20 minutes that it took us to go, we both looked at each other basically and said, let's just sneak back in, do it again. But the level of enthusiasm, just I think for the parade in general, but also like clapping for us and saying arts and all of that was a good thing. And I think next year, something we can start planning much earlier and actually do something very cool would be fun.
Yeah, and a last thing I would add, the announcers 2 separate times, because they had us provide I know that all of you have been a part of this before, so it's nothing new, but we did provide some language for them to tout the Arts Commission, and that happened twice along the route, so I felt as though that increased awareness, of that the commission is here and what it does and why it's important, so.
It's important that we participate.
right. I believe we can adjourn this meeting of the Commission for the Arts at 6:05 PM on December 5th.